Hey group, it's been a while since I've been live. Hello everybody. So something that I get asked about relatively frequently, I coach this both with my business coaching clients, but also something that I've worked a lot with in therapy with therapy clients is sort of your getting your financial house in order. So addressing your relationship to finances, but also like literally the logistics of managing your finances for your home, for your personal life, and for your business. I have spent a lot of time and done some trainings around getting trained around how to do this. And I think I've come up with a system that works pretty well, especially reducing the overwhelm of all the information and all the things you're having to manage. So, what I want to do now, because I've been getting some questions about it, is share with you guys exactly how I do it. And I'm also going to be putting a link in the comments to a Google document that's a checklist. So if you want to use a similar system, then I've got a checklist for you to set that up. It's just sort of the groundwork for getting a handle on what your current financial picture looks like right now. It's not like creating a full financial plan or anything like that, but this will give you the foundation of the knowledge of what is in order for you to then make informed decisions, because that's what I'm all about, to make informed decisions about how you want to manage your finances, what kinds of things you want to do with it. It will give you information that you need in order to make decisions about debt payoffs and investments and things like that. So I'm going to talk you through how I have this set up. I'm also going to, again, link a document in the comments so that you can follow a similar process yourself. So the first thing that I did, and I did this a really long time ago, is I set myself up with a financial tracking app. Now, back in the day, that was Mint. They are no longer, right? They're no longer doing budgeting and tracking. And I'm actually glad, because in my transition of finding something different, I found something really magical. I am now using Quicken Simplifi, and I have looked at a lot of different apps, a ton of different apps. And very few of them do this projective spending plan that Quicken Simplifi does really well. Now, the other thing I like about Quicken, and yes, I have an affiliate link, but I only get like a couple dollars if you use it. So use it or don't, totally up to you. I would plug them whether I did or not. What it does that's really special is that it actually predicts your spending and income moving forward, and you can project it out several months at a time, and it's really, really good at it. So you're not just retroactively checking your budget, you are actually proactively projecting your spending and budgeting for months in advance. And it does a really phenomenal job at doing this very intuitively and in a way that's not overwhelming. So I really, really love this app. So the first thing that I would suggest doing is, one, set up your Quicken Simplifi, sync all of your accounts to it, and just get it working, right? It's going to take you a few hours depending on how much you need to correct. It does a pretty good job at automatically categorizing things, but I gotta admit, there's a few things where like the payee that they downloaded was not the same. I think they mistook AT&T for T-Mobile, so I had to go in and correct that. So there's going to be things you're going to need to correct when you first get it set up. But luckily it learns over time, it sets up rules, so it becomes automatic in the future. So set that up, give yourself a couple of weeks and several hours over a couple of weeks to go in there, categorize, correct transactions, correct the recurring. So it predicts recurring transactions for you, and it will need you to correct some of them because it might have duplicates or something like that. So you'll need to go in and make those corrections. Again, give yourself a few hours, and you can spread that out over a couple weeks so it's not super overwhelming, but it's worth doing. Once you have that set up, you're going to go into the spending plan section of it. And you're going to look at what it has predicted for you in terms of your income and spending categories for bills and subscriptions and things like that. You can then also set up, and I'll give you guys a quick peek at mine here in a moment. I think I can, yes, I can turn my camera around, cool. It does a really good job at predicting your spending. And then when you set up new spending categories, it will even tell you what the average is over several months so that you can accurately predict what you might spend. Because of that, you can then make decisions about whether or not you like how much you're spending on that category. And so I think that's what's really cool about it is it will tell you on average you spend this much money on coffee shops each month. And then you are confronted with like, am I okay with that? Do I like that? Do I want to actually make a goal of bringing that down, or is that an okay number for me? So dig into the spending plan aspect. It's really, really cool, and it's what makes the app so magical. Now that's the Quicken piece, and I'll show you a peek at that in just a second. The other thing that has made financial management really easy personally is I follow a modified profit first model, both for my business and for my personal life, right? So there are certain expenses that occur only annually. Property taxes, car registrations, car maintenance, home maintenance. There's certain things that I know approximately how much to expect. Some of them more specifically than others, right? Car maintenance may be variable, but my property taxes are pretty set most of the time. So I'm adding all of those up, and I'm giving myself a monthly number that I need to set aside. This is the same thing I do for my business taxes, right? I set aside a certain percentage of my income in my business to pay for my taxes. So I'm gonna do the same thing in my personal life. I'm gonna take the things that I know I have to pay in big chunks, and I'm gonna set aside funds for those in a separate checking account. So how I have my bank account structured, I have a primary operating account for my personal, for all of our income goes into that. We have a secondary checking account, and that's where we put all of the money for these larger expenses. We then have a savings account. We have an emergency fund, and that acts also as our overdraft protection. And then each adult has a personal spending account. This is the no questions asked money. We each get a budget each month, how much we can spend on things that are just no questions asked, and that reduces a lot of conflict around spending. So that's how I like to set up bank accounts. Modify for your personal needs as needed, but I think that's a really good structure to start with, and then you can figure out what works from there. But by bucketing your money in this way, it prevents spending money that you weren't intending to spend other places. So that's the overview of how I set up my stuff. Now I'm going to go into my Quicken. You're going to get a peek at my February budget. So this is a bit personal, y'all. You're gonna look at my actual money here. Here we go. So this is my Quicken. I have anticipated, so this is income after expenses. So you can see my total income is here, but my income after bills and subscriptions, it shows that right here. We then have certain planned spending categories. You can see right here. We sometimes don't spend all of it, and sometimes we spend more of it, and so you can make adjustments. Now, again, this is what's cool about this app. Projected other spending, things that don't fall in those categories. It's helping me predict based on the past 2 months with a buffer, and I can set the buffer, that I'll probably spend an additional $150, give or take, on just random spending. And so it helps me predict. And then it does this really cool thing where it says, well, based on what we predict you're going to spend, you're going to have $508 left over. And that gives you $17 a day to spend. And so it gives you sort of a daily amount, which I think is kind of cool. But this includes my monthly set aside amount that I currently have allocated. So that's already accounted for. That transfer into my secondary checking is already accounted for. So again, super cool app. I think it's really awesome. Highly recommend it. In the comments, I will post a link to Quicken Simplifi. I will post a link to a checklist if you want to set this up for yourself. If you have any questions for me, pop them in the comments. But dude, this has helped me so much. It has helped our family so much. Because of this app, we were able to cut our family expenses by almost 40% because of the job change and career transition for my husband. And it was pretty substantial, but it made it easy because I could see really easily where our money was going and what we could change. And then I was able to make those changes really quickly. It's so dynamic. The last thing I'll add is when you're first starting out with this, check it almost daily for a little while. One, because then you can just quickly categorize transactions that are incorrect without it feeling like a lot of work. But also because you get a touch point to your money and you get a better relationship with it. At this point, I'm checking it probably every, I don't know, twice a week or so, just because it's so easy to check. Sometimes it's weekly, but you'll get into a rhythm with it. I just recommend being in touch with it on a regular basis because that's going to give you a really good handle on the ins and outs and the daily, flow of your money in general. I think that's about it. So I'll drop those links as soon as I'm off. If you have any questions about this process or how I make this work, let me know. If you set it up and it's going well, also let me know. I love that. But that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.